this contract that you get in with the reader, being like, hey, read my thing, and this is what I can offer to you. That's it. Take it or leave it. You don't know the context of what this will be offered to you, but it will at some capacity. I have been wanting to make YouTube videos for an extremely long time, and the only reason why I haven't done it is because in my brain it requires so much preparation and like setup and lights and shit. If you have seen the couple of other videos I have made, they have that. And I haven't done it because it's too much and it's overwhelming and brain goes burr. So I just decided to say, fuck it, I'm just gonna record myself with my camera, put shit out. It's better than not putting shit out. Um, and I want to talk about books. I want to talk about writing. I want to talk about making promises to readers. And I think this is going to be something that I want to make moving forward, just shooting the shit and existing completely without a script in the only weird, convoluted, autistic way that I know how to explain something properly. So, I just finished reading a book that I honestly really liked. This is not a review of that specific book, however, it will have spoilers. I recommend you to read it with a caveat, and I'll go to it a little bit like later in the video. But it's Strange Houses by Uketsu. It's a very interesting premise. It uses visual storytelling very well. The premise is that there are these houses that, for very specific reasons, are weird and strange. That's the title. And it's in the floor plans, and it follows the characters talking about the floor plans and speculating why they are this strange and lets you follow through. I heard the audiobook and it has an accompanying PDF. So I was able to like follow through the things. And I think it's really cool because it's also like one of the characters is like, it's weird that the bathroom is placed in this specific location under this thing, and then like it looks like it's connected to this thing, and it shows a line or a circle showing what the characters are talking about. That I found absolutely fascinating. I love the premise of just like someone stumbling upon a floor plan and then squinting a little bit and being like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Everything kind of escalated from there. I also like that it's a very unique way of storytelling. It's mostly conversational with little tidbits of narration. It's very experimental. I love experimental storytelling, so I really like that. My caveat, and the reason why I want to talk about I want to use that book for me to talk about a little bit more about promises to the readers and everything. It is, as I understand, supposed to be a horror mystery book. However, and this is where the spoilers start, to me, and this is all my personal interpretation of the book and everything. To me, it is very lacking on the mystery and it's very lacking on the horror. I think it's an entertaining, light read. I finished the audiobook in like one day and I was very invested on it. I didn't feel like it fulfilled the promise of a horror mystery book because the characters jump to these crazy leaps of why these things were built the way that they were built, why this exists this way, or what could have happened that would lead this to be. And then all of the leaps, crazy as they are, happen to be 100% true immediately. And then there's no mystery. So, again, that's my little asterisk spoiler. I still think that it's a very interesting exercise in storytelling. And I understand that this is the author's debut novel. It's not the first one that was translated to English, it's the second one. I believe Strange Pictures was translated first. And I really want to read that one. This entire situation of reading this book, knowing that it was a horror mystery, knowing that it was being built in a way that I was assuming was like I had my horror mystery hat. So I was thinking about horror mystery circumstances, about how maybe the leaps that the characters were taking into logic and all of the conclusions were going to be wrong, and then it was going to lead them into the reality of everything that was going to be worse, and like it was going to be more fucked up and it was going to fuck them up, because why are you, like putting your nose into where it doesn't belong, like things like that in my head. And again, this is like a very personal thing in my head. For me, it was like, oh, this is a really good like commentary of like how people see weird strange cases in the internet and then come up with conspiracy theories that are extremely far-fetched. And a lot of the times, like, life is less complicated, and or life can be even more gruesome, and I would have liked to see a combination of extremes in the book. That was because I was reading this with my horror mystery hat on. The blurb is a very horror mystery blurb, like everything was set up to be a type of book that I don't think the book itself is. It immerses you in the story very fast, and you read it from beginning to end. Like, the pacing, I think, is great. I suspended my disbelief in ways that I wouldn't have suspended my disbelief just because I found it very entertaining. But I didn't feel like the promises that were made to me as a reader were fulfilled. And this is the topic of today, just fulfilling promises. It's a term that I'm not sure who coined it, but the first person that I have ever heard talking about it was Brandon Sanderson in one of his lectures, which are available here on YouTube, and I highly recommend. I'm not going to explain exactly the way that he explains, because like I'm not fucking Brandon Sanderson. But basically, if you are writing something and you know that you're setting up a promise for your reader, you can go through three paths, right? Number one, you don't fulfill the promise, the reader was expecting something and now they're upset. Number two, you fulfill the promise and the reader is happy because, yay, I was expecting something to happen and the thing happened. So now I feel good. The other one is that you don't fulfill the promise, but you make it so it's better. So, I don't know, they were expecting that there was a killer, and instead there is a group of killers and it's a cult. So, like, you make it bigger and better than the promise. And this is particularly relevant with literary genres. I am writing a thriller romance. I am more familiar writing horror and writing fantasy and suspense and mystery. So I did my due diligence and researched tropes and rules of the genres. One of the most important ones, for example, in romance, is that there has to be a happily ever after. If a romance book doesn't have a happily ever after, to some capacity, it could be happily for now, just like the couple ends together, period. Even if it doesn't feel like they're going to stay together in the future, they end together in the book, or they are at the beginning of the relationship, stuff like that. So whenever a reader is going to a romance, they're going to expect that the main pairing ends up together. In the case of, I don't know, like whenever multiple people end up, the main character, like some of the main characters are gonna end up together. Same thing with thrillers. Thrillers are very particular in the fact that they have to have a ticking clock. Something, time is running out. Something is going to happen if things are not moved at a quick pace and people are panicking. I think that's one of the main reasons why people usually associate like thrillers with just murder. But as far as my research has done, it's so much more than like just murder. It's just ticking clock. It could be someone's kidnapped and, I don't know, they're going to die. But also someone is like sick and you have to find a cure. And all of my examples have death right now, but it doesn't. I don't believe that in order to have a thriller, you have to have death necessarily. There can be other things, but there has to be time running out kind of situation. If you write a book that has certain tropes, but it's more mysterious, even if it has a killer, but time is not running out, it's not a thriller. The same way that a not happily ever after book is not a romance. Those are things that readers expect, and those are promises that you are making. This contract that you get in with the reader, being like, hey, read my thing, and this is what I can offer to you. That's it. Take it or leave it. You don't know the context of what this will be offered to you, but it will at some capacity. I have a good example here of Flora. This is my not for resale copy just because I haven't bought a hardcover one, but it's out for sale. This is a psychological horror book. It's not a thriller because, in theory, it's not time running out, but it is psychological horror. I promise people that I'm reading this descent into madness and a lot of very unreliable psychological shit. Um, I would like to consider I fulfill that promise. I am not telling readers exactly how the spiral is going to happen. I am not saying what the type of mental and emotional mishaps are, but I can say this is someone that is losing their mind slowly. And by the end, after the whole thing happens, the character goes through the process of losing their mind slowly. This is also a book about a stalker, and it has a lot of tropes that, like, the stalker genre or trope or whatever, follow like a very book and series. It becomes more and more unhinged. What else do I promise here? Also, it's an Alice in Wonderland retelling, so I am hitting themes and topics that Alice in Wonderland touches, mostly about identity and your relationship with like how to behave in the world. Objectively, even if it's a bad book, let's say the person doesn't like, I put my cards on the table and I told the readers, this is what you can expect that will happen. And I made the thing happen. I would like to say that I over delivered because I worked hard writing it. And I put my own book as an example because if I am telling writers advice on how I believe something must be done, I want to show that I have done it, not because I think this is the best book in the world. And I also don't like talking about other people's works because I adore artistry and I really enjoy just people creating. I am not a book reviewer. And again, even though I personally believed I wasn't fulfilled the promises that I was promised when I was reading the book that I mentioned before, is very subjective. Most likely, other people would go into the book with different expectations, and maybe those promises are fulfilled, right? It's something that I wanted to use as context to talk about fulfilling promises and about how it's important to think about the readers while you're writing. So again, no matter if someone doesn't like the book or if the book is absolute garbage, I like to believe that I set my cards on the table and I told the people, this is what you can expect. And at the end, they got the thing, or they got a version of the thing, or they got more of the thing that I promise. Then, if they don't like it, at least now I know that I played my part in telling the person, like, I fulfilled my part of the contract in what I told the reader, like, hey, this is what I said, and then they can be like, I don't like how you delivered that promise, or I was expecting more of this thing, or like X, Y, and Z. But I rest happy knowing that I fulfilled my part of the contract, and they fulfilled their part of the contract as well because they gave it a chance, and that's the only thing that a reader has to do. Just give it a chance. Please don't be afraid of DNFing anything. Don't force yourself to read books you don't like. That sucks. Writers, just make sure to keep an eye on which promises you're giving readers and how that can make readers see your things in a different light and have already a set of expectations before they even start reading. And readers, just think about when you are approaching a book, if you are expecting something, anything at all from that book, doesn't have to be related to trope. Particularly, this conversation was related mostly to genre and like tropes from that genre, but it can be as simple as just the blurb of the book saying something and you expecting that something to happen. So, if you're writing, think about the way that your readers are going to read it and make sure that you're understanding that if you're writing to put a book out there, you're not writing in a vacuum, you're writing for someone else, even if it's for only that one person. And you should try to deliver and keep that in mind and make this thing special not only for yourself as an author, because this is your baby, but also for every single person that are going to read through that. That's my spiel. That's my shitty YouTube video that I am going to cut out for Instagram Reels and stuff. And that's just me not knowing how to shut up for 20 minutes.